Reddit has a community called Antiwork. It started with a subreddit called LateStageCapitalism, which espoused all the ways in which capitalism was coming to an end, comrade. A bunch of whiny children is what that one was. But Antiwork made it so much worse. It started with a good idea. We don't have to, we shouldn't be working as hard to get as little as we are. But nothing's good enough for them. And it immediately morphed into a bunch of whiners complaining about how unfair life is, how my boss wants me to actually work or come into the office or do something, whatever it is. These are the people who give society at large a bad name. The problem is it's filled with clearly fake stories. Oh, this text exchange, you got to see it between me and my boss, where the boss keeps providing backstory. There's no exposition in a text. It's very brief. I know you said you'd be on vacation, but you must fly back, and that's clearly fake. And they got called out on it a number of times when one person would post various fake stories with contradictory bases. Yeah, it's rage bait, and it's stupid. And it's clear that a lot of the people in there have never had a job. Then they went on, what was it, Fox or MSNBC or CNBC, I don't remember. One of their moderators decided to take an interview, I think it was Fox, maybe Fox Business, and got destroyed because this person was an absolute clown. I don't remember all the details, and it doesn't matter, and I'm not going to link it because it's not worth it. Fine. So because of this big kerfuffle, it spawned a bunch of other subreddits like WorkReform. We're going to be like them, but not crazy. No fake stories, no rage bait, which immediately turned into the same thing. WorkersStrikeBack was another subreddit. It's terrible. It's so obvious that this is a place infested with fake stories and people who have never had a job of any kind. And they all reinforce the same nonsense. The whole idea originally was we got to get workers a better wage. Well, then COVID hit, and a lot of boomers retired, and everybody got to step up by a rung. Well, now we hear the capitalists complaining nobody wants to work. Yeah, I mean, nobody does want to work. We'd rather sit on the beach sipping martinis or pursue our hobbies or our passions or get that SoundCloud EP finally out. I don't know, whatever it is you're into. But a lot of people do find meaning in work if the work is meaningful. They point at Tesla's labor practices, so unfair, union busting. There was some union busting very early on, and they got in trouble for it. It's not clear that those directives came from the highest levels, but Tesla pays their workers more than everybody else. They get a starting worker in Fremont earns more than a new union line worker at GM. GM's got a two-tiered system. If you started before, 2008 or 7, you get like $30-40 an hour, and the same job now pays like 18. It's terrible. It's a really horrible system. And they managed to get the votes to pass the contract because everyone who was in the union was like, well, I still get mine. That's not a good look. So what do they got to do? Well, get better wage. Well, wages have gotten better. Wages have gotten a lot better. That's why inflation was up so much, is people can finally afford to buy all the things they want. People can afford to move to the nicer neighborhood. Well, the nicer neighborhood's already full. It's going to drive the rents up. And then, of course, some truly greedy bastards who deserve criticism jacked up the rents everywhere across the board, and now we've got a whole different set of problems. But they're not seeking to address it in any meaningful way. They just want to complain on the internet. That's why their cause is so ham-fisted and dumb in the first place. I share their struggle. I understand. I believe workers should be paid a wage that makes it so they can afford to live. When I was first out of college, I had to live an hour away from work. I just had to. It was a professional job. I sold broadcast electronics for a company in Bellevue, Washington, and they didn't pay me enough to live within an hour of where I did live and of where I worked. It was ridiculous. What am I supposed to do? And then, of course, they'd get angry because I can control what time I leave my home, but I can't control what time I arrive. That's all extenuating circumstances. Generally, I'd be 45 to 30 minutes early, because I was looking to climb the corporate ladder, you see. And some days there'd be rain or multiple accidents or the entire highway blocked. And I'd be, if I was 2 minutes late, I would get a closed door talking to you. That's not fair. Well, everyone else was able to get here. Yeah, because everyone else doesn't live an hour away. Ridiculous. That would deserve criticism. Companies like that hardly exist anymore. Very uncommon. Workers wouldn't stand for it anymore, nor should they. But the wages were terrible too. And in that particular case, it turned out to be just my wages that were terrible, so I left. They were very surprised. My gosh, I thought you were going to be here for life. And I said, so did I. Whatever. So the idea is get the wages higher. Well, now that the wages are higher, they're complaining, well, no, now we should get 50 an hour. Now we should work 3 days a week. Maybe you can find that job. Probably you can't, but maybe you can. I made a video about tipping. Maybe that's the job for you. Maybe you need to move to a place where those wages are more common. It's difficult to move when you don't have the money, but, we all have to make choices. And choosing to not work isn't one of them. They'll rejoice things like, they try not to rejoice stealing from the office, but they rejoice quiet quitting, which is when you continue collecting your paycheck, but you just stop doing your job. That's how you kill a company completely. Amazon should pay their workers more. Ooh, I'll make a whole video about that. I agree they probably should, but I can tell you why they can't and won't. If you have a chance to block those subreddits, I recommend it. Or, for an even better experience, just don't go to Reddit.